Hey guys, Quiv the Lazy Geek here, and looky what we have here. We have boxes. Boxes are beautiful. So I took advantage of the rainy season to order some new stuff. Well, actually, you might have seen my whole saga with the Crux 140 Traveler mount, which I ended up returning. It's a very expensive mount, and I needed something else that was relatively portable to use. So I actually bought two things. I bought one thing which was a SkyWatcher AZ-GTI mount, which is a very small alt-az mount that can actually, with some effort, be put into equatorial mounts. So it arrived, QC had quality control has failed to find that some threads were missing on that mount. So I returned it, and it's coming back again in a few days. So that will come, and that will be for when I use only my lens, my camera lens, with a very, very small kind of piece of equipment. And I have a second mount, which is here, which is also quite light, and it was on sale for really, really cheap for the SkyWatcher summer sale, blah, blah, blah. So I just had to get it because it is light and it is supposed to be decently good. And it is easy to tune as well, which is something that I'm fine with doing in opening up the mount and cleaning up the parts and putting it back together. Even though I am not mechanically inclined, apparently for this mount, it's fairly easily doable. And so what is this mount? It is the AZ-EQ5GT. I'm not sure whether the GT is like only a regional thing or if it means anything, because I've seen in the US it doesn't have the GT. But we'll see how this mount, fares in the real world. At least today, I'll be putting it on a tripod, and I'll see whether there is a lot of backlash or anything like that. So we can have a look at that. So let's get started. And the first thing is the tripod. So I've actually not taken anything out of the boxes. So it's like all new to me. But we have the usual stuff. Tripod spreader, and I'm not sure why we have this, like it's hex key or whatever we call them. Not sure where we're going to use that, but okay, we have it. And we have the thing for the spreader and for the mount, for actually like putting into the mount here. So we have the equipment that's needed. That's good. And we can get the tripod out. Wow, so this tripod is very interesting. It's thinner than the EQ6R tripod that I got from my EQ6R. The knob, the little pin or whatever we call it, that's supposed to be towards the north, is indeed towards the north and is on top of one of the legs, which is good. It doesn't spread as wide. It doesn't have as wide of a base as the EQ6R, which is not really a good thing from my point of view, and it has very long legs. So I'm not sure whether that is a good thing or not. But I got it with this tripod because I really, really, really didn't want that weird half-pier thingy that the mount apparently comes with by default in the US, something like that. Because, I don't know, the half-pier thingy looks like it could really wobble in the wind like crazy, whereas the tripod just looked better for me. Now, there is another thing as well. I have my Carbon Vixen CB90, SGT CB90 tripod, which is an amazing little tripod, and there is an adapter that I can use to make it work with this mount, I think. Right now there are some technical issues because I need to remove the center column and I need to do something about it, but I'll go to the hardware store to actually do that, and I might share that later on. Now there's another thing with the with all of this. Of course, I'll be putting links in the description down below if you feel like buying any of those items and you want to support me and you're okay with shopping from OPT. I'm an affiliate of OPT, so if you use the sponsored links, it will be supporting me, and thank you so much in advance if you do choose to do so. So before we start really setting up the tripod, we can open up what's in the mount. So we have a manual in Japanese, joy. So it's good. It's nice that I actually put a manual in Japanese, and we have the manual in English, which, should I read? Should I read this manual? Maybe I'll leaf through it very briefly so we can see what we're talking about. So after leafing through, it looks fairly basic. It's nice that they actually include a list of the parts that we should be expecting, so I can like cross them off the list as we go. And let's get this opened. So we have the SynScan controller. I was going to say Nexstar because they look exactly the same, but it is SynScan. Good, so that's one good thing that we have. What else do we have? We remove that foam insert. Aha, and I see a mount. So before I go to the mount, we have a power cable. We have Allen wrenches and some plastic thingy, which looks to be for cable management. We have what I think are DSLR shutter trigger cables. We have a computer RS-232. No, we have the hand controller, the hand controller cable here, and we have the actual power adapter with a cigar plug here. And we have, what is this? Is that a counterweight extension shaft? I think it is. This is a cute small counterweight extension shaft. I haven't seen such a... Yeah, it is. That has to be the cutest thing I've seen in a long while. And we have what appears to be a secondary dovetail for when we use the mount in Alt-Az mode. Although most of the time I do expect to be using it in equatorial mode. The clamps are 2 screws like that, so it will mar your dovetail, which I don't really like, but you know, so be it, I guess. And I think we have the thing we've been all waiting for, which is the actual mount. It's light. And then we have something for the tripod to put the hand controller in. This is actually super light, much lighter than I expected, which is nice. So we have to actually unscrew the screws. Okay, now they are. And we should be able to slot it in. Yes, there we are. I'm going to tighten the screws again. Okay. Yeah, this is... It's such a small mount. I didn't expect it to be that small. That's a bit crazy. Okay, well, let's do the tripod side of things. So we want to make sure that the mount is well attached and well secured. Otherwise, we will run into some fairly major issues, like the mount immediately tipping over, which is not great. Oh, and by the way, there is one thing that we haven't seen yet. It's those boxes that contain the counterweights, of course. So it comes with 2 3.5 kilogram counterweights, which according to a test on the website is enough to actually balance, what is it? An 8-inch Newtonian from SkyWatcher. So we'll see if it can actually balance my my 8-inch Newtonian from Vixen. But this is actually pretty neat. Okay, so this is quite interesting. So the clamp for the declination axis is at the base of the counterweight bar, as far as I can tell. Yeah, now it's not gonna fall. The clamp for the RA axis is actually on the other side. No, it's not. Where are you, clamp for the RA axis? It's here. Okay, it's at the back. The clamp for the RA axis is at the complete back of the RA axis. So this is a nice system. We have, by the way, an auto guide port, a head control port, and a USB port, which is really nice for computer connection. and we have a bit of backlash, I can tell already. But it is actually not that bad, not as bad as I expected it to be. We have a very tiny bit of backlash in the mount, which will make it less resistant to wind, but should be decent enough anyway. So now I'm gonna put on the tripod spreader. And now we have a cute little mount that is ready, and it's not that heavy in total, at least without counterweights. So there is a bit of play in RA, there's a bit of play in declination, but it doesn't seem to be the end of the world. Now, one of the cables that I thought was a power cable is actually a cable that will connect the declination motor and the RA motor. So if I look at this, we're able to set a cable that says deck motor, and then we can connect it with this one if I find the right position, which is this. So we should be having the right motor connection like that. So there's an additional cable. So we have an additional cable, which is never a good thing, but I guess that's how things are. So otherwise, the control for the for the polar alignment are very similar to the EQ6R, meaning we have the little 2 bolts there to move the mount left and right, and we have this large bolt here to move the mount on the altitude axis. Now, this is the same system, the same bolt that we have on the EQ6R. I'm not a big fan of it because you know, it gets stopped by this. So when you want to put the mount in azimuth mode, so which we'll do right now, it can take quite a bit of time. Okay, so now I've set up the mount in alt-az mode by simply rotating this thingy. And there is actually a knob on the opposite side that you can tighten when the mount is in alt-az mode. So again, I can feel some backlash in azimuth now rather than RA, and some backlash in altitude. So I'll probably tune this mount sooner or later. Now let's try to use the mount without anything on it. So I need to find again, like now that I did alt-az mount, I don't remember where the plugs were. Where's my... Okay, we're putting in the hand controller. Okie dokie. We can put the power. So the power knob is actually really hard. It's in a very tight spot, at least when it's in azimuth mode. So I have a lot of trouble actually tightening the little screw that secures it, but it is now done. So we're getting there. Next, I am going to sacrifice my EQ6R by taking away the EQ6R's power supply for a moment. We'll give it back soon, and I'm gonna do this. We should now have power, and let's turn this on. Okay, I see actual text on the controller saying initializing, which is a good thing, I think. The tripod is, by the way, quite level because I haven't extended the legs, and I can see there's a little bubble level that's mounted on the mount, which seems to be pretty well actually placed and pretty well built. And we have 2 choices, the operating mode, equatorial mode, or alt-az mode, and I'm going to select alt-az mode. SynScan version 4.39.04. Warning, never use your telescope to look at the sun. Well, that's probably exactly what I'm going to do with my solar telescope, obviously, right after this. Set longitude, east. Oh, right, I need to set my coordinates. I always forget. So 139 dot something approximately. Okay, and the latitude for me will be 35. Okay, I've set my latitude and longitude. Now I need to set the time zone, which is GMT plus 9. My elevation, which is around 20 meters. The date, we're not in 1911, I think. So we are August 2nd, actually. It is not 8 p.m., it is 10:14 a.m. Okay, now we have all of that set up. I think it's going to remember that later on. No daylight saving time. Begin alignment. No, because I want to make sure that the scope I have would be, in theory, for the SkyWatcher home alignments, it should be pointing to the north and be roughly level. So I want to make sure that it would give me like a decent kind of slew. So at least, you know, it seems to be working. It has the usual kind of weird noise of those belt drives. But here we are. Our scope would be pointed level and pointed towards the north. So now I can begin the alignment. And we're going to use daytime align. Yes, daytime align. Sun. So the sun is up there, even though it's behind the clouds right now. Let's see if it would... Oh, so it doesn't actually slew to the sun. It's too afraid. It tells us to do to get to the sun. Huh, interesting. So it doesn't try to go there directly. Let's exit the alignment. I said exit the alignment. Yes. Okay, and we're going to try brightest star alignment, northern sky. No object found, so it's actually aware that we are in the daytime. So that's actually a bit of a bummer that it doesn't automatically go towards the sun. But you know, I could actually, wait until it gets less cloudy, or when the sun peeks out through the clouds, and put the solar telescope on. But I think I will try that later on. Probably I will start with like tests during the nighttime. But that's basically this for this video. It's actually not bad, not as bad as I had expected it to be in terms of both backlash of both axes. And I'll still want to maybe put something on this mount. So first, let's put in 2 counterweights, because my solar telescope is actually quite heavy. So 1 counterweight. Those, I mean, even the counterweights are small and cute. It's a bit depressing. Okay, 1 counterweight. Second counterweight. So typical SkyWatcher counterweights, but at least, you know, they seem to be working and sliding in, which is all that I ask of them. Then I will put them at the complete end of my counterweight shaft, and I'll bring the solar telescope out, see if I can mount it on this. So here we are with the solar telescope. We're going to mar that dovetail bar a little bit, not the end of the world. And there we have it. It's actually not as wobbly as I feared. So it's actually, it's a bit wobbly, especially in the RA axis, or in the azimuth axis here. I think I'll probably want to tune this mount, but it is not that bad, especially considering the weight of that particular refractor. So let's get to here. And let's see if it slews it well, if I can slew it more or less to where the sun is supposed to be. At least it seems to be handling it pretty well. That square thing here, it's scary. It feels like the scope could actually, you know, hit it, but it doesn't seem to be the case. Well, the scope doesn't seem to have any issues slewing, which is very good. So I cannot confirm yet the tracking, as long as we have those clouds here, which seem to be developing even more than they were a few minutes ago, so I missed my opportunity here. But the first impressions of the mount are actually quite positive. It's a slight bit wobbly in the RA axis in particular, but the RA axis is the one that matters the least in equatorial mount for backlash, because you can simply balance a little bit heavier on one side, even though for belt drives I heard that you don't want to do that, so maybe I'll try to adjust that at some point in the near future. The declination axis seems to be more or less fine. Actually, this is my scope. I need to tighten the dovetail screws on my scope, so that's something good I just discovered. But otherwise, this mount looks good. So that's just for the initial unpacking of the mount in this video. Whenever I have better weather, I'll be testing it out, both in alt-az mode for solar visual and solar imaging. And who knows, it might actually replace my AZ mount Pro, although since it doesn't have a battery inside it, it might not. So I'll see what I do about my AZ mount Pro later on. But for the moment, very positive impressions. It is lighter than I expected. It is smaller than I expected. It's a small, cute mount. It reminds me of the SEM 25P, but I used to have the AZ-EQ5, the very first version of that telescope. But it actually looks and feels a bit beefier than that. I feel more comfortable putting more weight on this mount than I would the SEM 25 or the AZ-EQ5 of my time. I don't like that there's this like cable dangling between the two axes, but I guess there's no helping it. And I think for a portable mount, it looks great. And so the only thing that's missing right now is the tripod. The tripod is good, but it is heavy, it is long, and it's not like the most portable thing in the world. So I want to try to see whether I can adapt my carbon tripod to work with this mount. And I'll make sure to update that in a further video about the mount. But first impressions are really good. Of course, what will be important is the actual tracking of the mount. So that's another big problem, and we'll see how that ends up being. But yes, that's pretty much it for our unboxing and first setup of this mount. I hope this has been useful in seeing like the scale of the mount. It's always difficult to see what the scale of a mount is compared to me and compared to the telescope. It is small, it is cute, it is light. The mount is lighter than the tripod as far as I can tell. And very positive first impressions. I'm not disappointed yet. So, okay, that's pretty much it. So thank you so much for watching. Please remember to, if you feel like you like this kind of video, whether they're gear reviews, setup, practical stuff, theoretical stuff about cameras, how to do deep sky object imaging, or me like basically trying around new stuff like solar imaging or planetary imaging I have in the plans, please feel free to go down and subscribe. Click that subscribe button, click on the little notification bell to make sure to be updated when you have when I have a video that comes up. And as always, thank you so much for watching. Whenever you can, don't forget to look up at the stars, and I'll see you next time.